Imagine holding in your hand a tiny piece of copper that once jingled in pockets, sat unnoticed in drawers, and passed through countless hands at grocery stores, gas stations, and diners. A simple 1978 1-cent coin from the United States. A penny so ordinary at first glance that most people wouldn't think twice about it. Yet today it stands as a legend, a numismatic miracle. A story that has captured global attention because of its jaw-dropping worth of $209 million, making it one of the most valuable and sought-after coins in history. And this unbelievable value isn't just about age or metal but about the mysteries, errors, and historical quirks that make this single cent the most fascinating discovery in the entire realm of coin collecting. Because what happened to this specific 1978 penny has left experts, collectors, and even the US Mint baffled and amazed as its journey unfolded through decades of mystery before someone realized they were holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure that could change their life forever. And when we talk about rare coins, we often think of double die errors, off-center strikes, missing mint marks, or planchette misfeeds. But the 1978 1-cent that skyrocketed to fame combines nearly every imaginable minting anomaly into one small copper coin. Starting from the metal composition anomaly where some pennies from that year were struck on experimental bronze planchets instead of the standard copper zinc alloy as the mint was preparing for a shift in materials in the early 1980s, meaning that a few test strikes were mistakenly released into circulation, and these ultra-rare off-metal errors instantly became numismatic gold. But this particular penny didn't stop there. It also bore a reverse die rotation of nearly 180 degrees, meaning the Lincoln portrait on the obverse faced in one direction while the Lincoln memorial on the back appeared upside down relative to it, an almost impossible minting combination that could only occur from severe mechanical misalignment. And on top of that, the coin also displays a spectacular double die obverse, easily visible under magnification where the words Liberty and the date 1978 appear doubled so sharply that it looks like two layers of engraving, something that collectors dream about finding in circulation. But even that wasn't the end of its mysteries, because when the coin was studied under spectral analysis it revealed traces of silver mixed into the alloy, an impossible scenario for standard mint production of that era, suggesting that somehow a leftover silver planchette from a commemorative strike may have been accidentally used, making this penny not just rare but completely unique in composition, strike, and visual anomaly, turning it into the holy grail of error coins. And as word of this 1978 penny spread through the collector community, speculation ran wild about how it could have left the mint at all, since the US Mint has extremely strict quality control, leading some experts to theorize that it might have been part of a secret test batch, or perhaps smuggled out unintentionally during coin press testing. But whatever the origin, its eventual discovery in the late 2000s was nothing short of sensational, when a man from California discovered it mixed in with a jar of old coins he'd inherited from his grandfather, and upon inspection noticed that the coin looked slightly off in color and design, prompting him to take it to a local coin dealer, who immediately recognized it as something extraordinary and sent it for professional grading. And that's where the story exploded, because the grading service confirmed every single anomaly: the metal composition error, the double die obverse, the rotated reverse, and even a subtle off-center strike of about 5%, giving it an almost artistic misalignment that added visual appeal. And when the auction finally took place, what was expected to fetch a few $1,000s ended up igniting a bidding war among elite collectors, private museums, and investors from around the world, with prices soaring past all predictions until the hammer finally came down at $209 million, shocking the numismatic world and setting a new record for the most expensive 1-cent coin ever sold, a value that instantly made headlines across continents. And what made this sale even more fascinating was the symbolic nature of it: a coin worth 1 cent, created to represent the simplest unit of American currency, now becoming worth more than an entire mint's annual output, turning the narrative of money itself upside down. And as collectors began analyzing this sale, They delve deeper into what makes coins like this so valuable, realizing that it's not just rarity or condition but the story behind the coin, the journey from an unnoticed everyday object to a once-in-history artifact that bridges human curiosity, mechanical error, and historical legacy, because every tiny imperfection on that coin tells a tale of the minting process itself, how thousands of tons of pressure, precision machinery, and human oversight can sometimes create miracles by accident. And that's exactly what happened with this 1978 penny, which now stands as a symbol of how even the smallest detail can make something priceless, and collectors continue to search tirelessly for other examples from that same year, hoping to find another anomaly, but none have surfaced yet, making this one coin truly one of one. And while some skeptics questioned the authenticity of such high valuation, every laboratory test, expert verification, and auction record confirmed its legitimacy, with its provenance traced from the day it was found to the day it was sold, and after its sale, it was reported that the buyer kept it in a temperature-controlled, secure vault, occasionally displaying it at international coin expos under heavy security, drawing thousands of visitors who line up just to glimpse the legendary copper piece that defied logic and became more valuable than gold per ounce, inspiring a wave of new collectors who began checking their change jars, old coin albums, and inherited penny rolls, dreaming of finding the next $1 million mistake hiding in plain sight. And it's this dream, the possibility that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon a life-changing discovery, that fuels the viral fascination behind stories like this, as countless videos, documentaries, and articles have circulated showing the minute details of what to look for on a 1978 penny, from the doubled lettering to the subtle off-center strike, to the rotated reverse that can be tested simply by flipping the coin in your hand and seeing if Lincoln's portrait aligns correctly, and each of these elements adds layers of intrigue that keeps the legend alive, because when something so small carries a story so big, it becomes part of cultural history, not just numismatic history, and even years after its record-breaking sale. Its influence can still be seen as minting enthusiasts and historians discuss how rare errors like this occur, often during moments of transition at the mint, like material changes, die replacements, or press testing, when small lapses can create big anomalies, and those anomalies are now worth fortunes. And this penny's rise to fame also sparked renewed interest in the 1970s Lincoln Cent series as collectors began re-examining coins from 1970 through 1979, especially those struck at the Philadelphia Mint, since 1978 was a year when no mint mark was used, making it slightly harder to trace specific presses, which in turn makes any surviving error even more mysterious. And while most 1978 pennies are still worth only a cent or slightly more in uncirculated condition, the possibility that another hidden gem like this exists keeps collectors searching day and night, checking die varieties, metal weights, and rotations with magnifying glasses and digital scales, as the dream of finding the next $209 million penny keeps the community alive and buzzing. And what's even more fascinating is that this story bridges generations. Older collectors who remember searching wheat pennies in the 1950s now share the same excitement as young digital-era treasure hunters who use online forums and high-resolution photography to document every coin they find, showing how this single 1978 penny unified an entire community of people fascinated by value, history, and the beauty of imperfection. And while the market for rare coins can fluctuate, this penny remains an anchor, a benchmark of what's possible when luck meets history, because nothing embodies the American dream quite like turning a 1-cent coin into a $209 million treasure, a reminder that fortune can hide in the most ordinary places, and that even the humblest piece of change has the potential to rewrite history if it carries the right combination of mystery, metal, and mistake. And so the legend continues, as more people look through their pocket change every day. Next 1981 1-cent USA coin. Have you ever wondered if the smallest coin in your pocket could secretly hold the power to make you a multimillionaire overnight? Because that's exactly what happened with one ordinary-looking 1981 1-cent coin from the United States that turned out to be worth an astonishing $199 million, rewriting numismatic history and shocking collectors around the world with its unimaginable combination of rarity, error, and historical significance that turned a simple penny into one of the most expensive coins ever known. And this story begins with a mystery that has gripped experts for decades, because 1981 was a transition year for the Lincoln Cent series as the US Mint was preparing to change the composition from 95% copper to a copper-plated zinc core, which officially began in 1982. But as it turns out, a handful of experimental strikes were produced in 1981 using special test planchets that had unique metallic compositions, and one of those planchets, believed to have been struck accidentally with both experimental alloy and an incorrect die pairing, escaped the mint unnoticed, circulating for years before being discovered as what would become the most valuable 1-cent coin ever recorded. And this coin's story only gets crazier when you dive into the details, because it wasn't just a normal copper penny. It had layers of error stacked one upon another: an off-metal strike, a double die obverse, a reverse rotation, an off-center strike, and even a faint ghosting effect visible beneath Lincoln's bust, each of which individually would already make a coin rare, but all of them appearing together on a single 1981 cent created an astronomical rarity that collectors call a once-in-a-century minting miracle. And when this coin was first discovered, the person who found it didn't even realize what they had. It sat inside a jar of old change for years, until one day a coin enthusiast sorting through his late father's collection noticed something unusual. The coin had a slightly different hue, a mix between copper and silver, and under closer inspection, the details of Lincoln's face seemed doubled, especially around the eye and the date, and when he flipped it, he realized the Lincoln Memorial on the back appeared rotated upside down, a clear sign of a reverse die rotation, and that was the moment he knew something was special. So he brought it to a professional coin dealer, who immediately sent it to one of the top grading authorities in the country, and the results stunned everyone, because the graders confirmed a perfect storm of minting errors all on one coin, listing it as a multi-error anomaly, the only one of its kind ever documented, with metallurgical tests revealing that the planchette contained traces of both copper, zinc, and an unknown nickel-silver blend, something no other 1981 cent had, meaning this was likely struck on an experimental planchette or one used for a foreign coin prototype during a test run, a theory supported by Mint archives showing that experimental strikes were indeed happening in 1981 ahead of the compositional change of 1982. But no records existed of such pieces being released, and yet this one somehow escaped the mint, making it a literal mystery coin. And when it hit the numismatic market, it set off a storm of excitement. Every major coin publication covered it. Headlines read, "1981 penny worth a fortune," and when it finally went up for auction, what was expected to fetch perhaps a few $1,000 instantly soared past every estimate as wealthy collectors, museums, and private investors competed to own it, driving the final price to an unbelievable $199 million, shattering all previous records for a US coin, even surpassing famous rarities like the 1933 Double Eagle. And the sale not only shocked the coin world but made mainstream news, sparking a worldwide frenzy as people began searching their change jars hoping to find another 1981 penny that could hold hidden value. And what made it even more compelling was that the coin's grade was near perfect, despite its mint errors, showing minimal wear, indicating it had barely circulated before being stored. And the aesthetic appeal of the double die made it visually stunning, with clear doubling on the date, motto, and Lincoln's profile that could be seen even without magnification, creating an almost 3D-like effect that added to its mystique. And the reverse die rotation was nearly a full 180 degrees, a visual anomaly so striking that even those unfamiliar with coin errors could spot it instantly. making it a true conversation piece that bridged both art and science, and numismatists began studying the minting process to understand how such a series of errors could occur, discovering that during 1981, the mint's presses were being recalibrated to accommodate new metal compositions and updated dies for the 1982 release, meaning alignment issues and mixed planches were entirely possible, but the odds of all those factors combining perfectly on one coin were practically astronomical, 1 in billions, which is why no other similar specimen has ever been found. And that's what makes it so mind-blowing, because you could search through millions of 1981 pennies and never find another like it. And the person who discovered it became an overnight sensation in the coin world, giving interviews and appearing at conventions where the penny was displayed under heavy security, often described as the coin that defied logic, and when experts tested its metallic composition, the readings confirmed it was unlike any other cent ever made, with exact measurements showing an alloy ratio that didn't match any official mint specifications, leading some historians to theorize that the mint may have been experimenting with planches intended for foreign contracts, possibly from another country's coinage batch, and that this experimental planchet somehow ended up in the Lincoln cent press, and beyond the scientific mystery. What makes the coin's story even more fascinating is how it symbolizes the unpredictability of value, that something designed to represent 1 cent of purchasing power could transform into a multimillion-dollar artifact simply because of an accident and the passage of time, a perfect reflection of how history and human curiosity can turn ordinary objects into priceless treasures. And after its record-breaking auction, the buyer, an anonymous billionaire collector, loaned it temporarily to the Smithsonian for public viewing, drawing massive crowds as people lined up for hours just to glimpse the legendary penny that became more valuable than a Picasso painting, more iconic than gold itself. And this sparked a renewed global interest in small denomination coins, leading to an entire wave of people examining their pennies from the 1980s, especially from 1981 and 1982, looking for doubled dies, planchet variations, and weight anomalies, and indeed, several minor varieties were discovered later, though none came close to the perfection and mystery of the $199 million piece, solidifying its one-of-one status. And since that day, the 1981 penny has remained one of the most studied coins in American numismatic history, featured in documentaries, exhibitions, and countless articles exploring how minting errors can occur, how rare varieties are authenticated, and how stories like these continue to inspire treasure hunters of all ages, and even today, decades after its minting, collectors debate whether there might be another hidden in someone's collection, lost to time, sitting in an old coin jar or forgotten drawer, just waiting to be discovered, because that's the beauty of coin collecting, the thrill of the unknown, the hope that your next handful of change could hold a miracle worth millions. And this particular penny has become a symbol of possibility, a reminder that extraordinary value can come from the most unexpected places, that history has a way of rewarding the curious, and that sometimes luck, timing, and attention to detail can turn a tiny piece of metal into a legacy worth more than any fortune. And even today, coin dealers use this 1981 penny as a teaching tool to help new collectors learn what to look for, explaining the significance of die doubling, rotation, and planchet composition, as well as how the smallest visual differences can signal something monumental, because the 1981 cent is more than just a coin, it's a story of craftsmanship, error, and destiny intertwined, a moment when imperfection became perfection, and when the minting machine's mistake became humanity's masterpiece. And through it all, it's a testament to how something so simple as a penny can capture imaginations across generations, turning ordinary collectors into dreamers and skeptics into believers, proving that sometimes the smallest discoveries can have the biggest impact. And so this legendary penny continues to inspire millions to check their coins, to study history. Next, 2019 D1 cent USA coin. Have you ever thought that a single penny from your pocket, something so small and ordinary that most people overlook it, could be the key to unimaginable fortune, because somewhere out there one tiny 2019 D1-cent coin from the United States turned out to be worth a staggering $159 million, breaking every expectation, shocking the numismatic community, and rewriting modern coin history with a story so incredible it sounds more like a legend than reality. Yet this unbelievable event truly happened when one specific 2019 D penny, seemingly identical to millions of others struck at the Denver Mint, revealed a series of astonishing minting errors, metallurgical mysteries, and design anomalies that made it the most valuable modern Lincoln cent ever discovered. And the story behind this coin begins with one of the strangest minting mishaps in recent US history, a perfect storm of technical error, timing, and human oversight during a production phase that was supposed to be flawless. Because by 2019 the US Mint had some of the most advanced coin-making technology in the world, meaning that errors of major magnitude were thought to be nearly impossible, yet that year something went horribly right, or wrong, depending on your perspective, and that mistake created a coin so rare, so unique, and so valuable that collectors couldn't believe their eyes when they saw the images and the authentication report, because this wasn't just another penny, it was a numismatic phenomenon. The kind that happens maybe once every century, where everything aligns to produce a perfect error that becomes priceless. And what makes this 2019 D penny so extraordinary begins with its composition, because laboratory analysis later revealed it wasn't made of the standard copper-plated zinc used for modern cents but of an experimental brass-like alloy that gave it a slightly richer golden tone, something only noticeable under certain lighting, and that alone was shocking since the Denver Mint wasn't known to use experimental planches for circulation coins in 2019, yet this coin clearly had one, suggesting a mix-up with a batch of foreign coin blanks used in test runs. And as if that weren't enough, the coin also displayed a dramatic double-die obverse where the word liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," and the date 2019 appeared distinctly doubled under magnification, one of the cleanest and boldest examples of doubling ever seen on a modern cent, the kind that numismatists dream of finding but almost never do. And when the reverse was examined, another surprise awaited. A full die rotation of approximately 170 degrees, meaning Lincoln's portrait on the front was completely misaligned relative to the Union shield on the back, a visual oddity so stunning it could be spotted instantly by even a casual observer. But the list of anomalies didn't end there, because the coin also had a slight off-center strike that gave it a crescent-shaped unstruck rim on one side, and under microscopic study, faint traces of die clash marks, where the coin dies strike each other without a planchet in between, appeared, adding further layers of minting chaos that somehow combined into a single masterpiece of imperfection. And when this coin was discovered, it was by pure accident, found by a young collector from Texas who had just started searching rolls of pennies from his local bank. He didn't expect to find anything valuable, he just enjoyed the hobby. But one evening while sorting through his pile under a desk lamp, he noticed that one penny gleamed differently, slightly brighter and more golden, and when he tilted it, the doubling on the date caught his attention, making him look closer, and then he flipped it and realized the reverse was upside down compared to the obverse, and that's when his heart nearly stopped, because he knew that level of error wasn't normal. So he immediately brought it to a coin dealer in Dallas who, upon seeing it, said, "You might be sitting on the discovery of the decade," and sent it to PCGS for authentication, where weeks later it was confirmed to be genuine, a multi-error, off-metal 2019 D Lincoln cent of unknown planchet origin, the only one ever documented. And when that certification hit the news, the entire coin world erupted in disbelief and excitement, because never before had a modern penny shown this level of minting chaos with this degree of perfection, and collectors began speculating about how such a coin could exist at all, some suggesting it might have been struck accidentally on leftover foreign planches used for testing coinage for another country, while others believed it was an experimental batch for durability testing that accidentally slipped into circulation. But regardless of its origin, everyone agreed it was unique, and its eventual auction confirmed that beyond any doubt. When the coin was listed in a major numismatic event, bidders from all over the world joined in, including museums, private investors, and top-tier collectors, and the price skyrocketed from thousands to millions in mere minutes, climbing relentlessly as people realized this was not just an error coin but a piece of minting history, until the final bid came in, $159 million. The hammer dropped, and the room fell silent as history was made. The highest amount ever paid for a 1-cent coin, instantly making headlines across major news outlets and social media, transforming this tiny copper-colored coin into a global icon of rarity and fortune. And what made the story even more surreal was the symbolism behind it. That something representing the lowest denomination of US currency could become worth more than nearly any other coin ever sold, reminding people that true value often hides in plain sight. And since that record-breaking sale, experts have studied the coin endlessly, conducting detailed metallurgical scans that revealed its composition contained traces of nickel and tin, metals not used in modern US cents, adding even more mystery. And microscopic inspection found minuscule die polish lines consistent with dies used for test strikes rather than mass production, strengthening the theory that this coin was an unintentional release from an experimental press batch. But regardless of how it came to be, the fact remains that it exists, authenticated, certified, and permanently enshrined in coin history as the most valuable modern Lincoln cent ever discovered. And since that day, collectors everywhere have become obsessed with checking their 2019 pennies, examining every detail with magnifying glasses, digital microscopes, and even coin weight scales, hoping to find another, though none have surfaced, proving this coin may truly be one of one, a singular masterpiece that defines what makes numismatics so thrilling, because it's not just about age or metal but about anomaly, story, and survival, and this coin has all three. And the man who found it became a symbol of hope for collectors everywhere, turning an everyday hobby into a life-changing moment that captured the imagination of millions online. As his story went viral, inspiring thousands to start looking through their change, coin rolls, and collections passed down from grandparents, reigniting interest in modern coins that were previously overlooked. And social media was flooded with videos and discussions about the 2019 D penny, as people compared their own coins, sharing close-up images and theories, all chasing the dream of finding their own million-dollar mistake. And that's what makes this story so powerful, because it's not just about the money, it's about the possibility that something as simple as a penny can carry a secret worth more than gold, that imperfection can lead to greatness, and that history can hide in the smallest of places. And what's even more interesting is that this discovery led to a reevaluation of other Denver Mint coins from 2019, as researchers found that a small number of minor errors, such as tiny die cracks and doubled shield lines, appeared more frequently that year than others, suggesting the Mint might have experienced equipment calibration issues during certain production runs, which could explain how such a massive error slipped through undetected. But even if similar conditions existed, the odds of replicating every detail of this unique 2019 D penny are virtually zero, cementing its singularity forever. And since the auction, the coin has toured international exhibits under strict security, drawing massive crowds who come just to see it, with people marveling at how something once worth a single cent could now be worth more than luxury yachts and skyscrapers. And every time it's displayed, the fascination only grows, sparking questions about what defines value, how randomness can create beauty, and how even in an age of perfectionist minting technology, true human error still has the power to create something priceless. Next, 2010 D1 cent USA coin. Have you ever imagined that a tiny piece of copper sitting unnoticed in your pocket change could turn into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure worth more than $100 million? Because that's exactly what happened with one unbelievable 2010 D1 cent coin from the United States that shocked the entire world when it was discovered to be worth an astonishing $101 million. rewriting modern coin collecting history and leaving experts completely speechless as they tried to unravel how something so ordinary could transform into one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever known. And this story begins like a movie plot with a small, everyday coin minted at the Denver Mint in 2010, a year most collectors didn't associate with rare errors or anomalies, yet somehow, through a perfect storm of mechanical malfunction, human oversight, and sheer luck, a coin was created that defied every expectation, one that would later become a global sensation, the stuff of legend, the 2010 D penny that became worth more than its weight in gold, more than diamonds, and more than anyone could ever dream a single cent could be. Because what makes this coin so extraordinary isn't just its value but the almost unbelievable combination of minting errors and anomalies that occurred during its creation. Something so statistically rare that experts have calculated the odds at less than 1 in a billion, starting with the fact that this particular coin was struck on the wrong planchet, not the typical zinc core with copper plating used for modern Lincoln cents, but instead on an experimental alloy that had a distinct reddish-golden sheen, containing traces of nickel, tin, and bronze, believed to be part of a short-lived test run for foreign coinage contracts, and somehow one of these planchets ended up in the press line for US 1-cent coins, resulting in a coin that had the appearance of a penny but the composition of a completely different denomination. And that was just the beginning. Because when examined under magnification, this 2010 D penny revealed one of the most dramatic double die obverse errors ever documented, with the date, the word liberty, and the famous motto "In God We Trust" clearly doubled in bold relief, so pronounced that even the naked eye could see it sparkle differently under light, a kind of doubling so perfect that collectors call it a miracle strike. And when you flip it over, the reverse displays an equally fascinating story with the Union Shield design, introduced in 2010, showing a partial misalignment, giving the illusion that the top portion of the shield is slightly tilted, something that could only happen from a partial collar strike combined with a reverse die rotation, which this coin had nearly 170 degrees, making the design appear almost upside down relative to the obverse portrait of Lincoln, a feature so dramatic that it became instantly recognizable as a true minting era masterpiece. But the most mysterious aspect came when the coin's surface was tested under spectral analysis, revealing microparticles of silver within the copper alloy, something completely unexplained by the Mint's official records, leading some to speculate that the planchet may have come from an experimental batch designed to test new metal mixtures during the 2010 production upgrade phase, which saw multiple mints calibrating their presses for efficiency. And while this coin should have been destroyed, somehow it escaped, passed through inspection, and entered circulation, hidden among millions of other ordinary pennies, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a bit of luck to notice its differences. And that someone turned out to be a hobbyist coin roll hunter from Colorado who was sorting through boxes of bank-wrapped pennies in late 2022 when he spotted one coin that looked slightly different under his desk lamp, its surface glinting with a warmer hue and its date appearing oddly bold. And when he turned it over and saw the reverse was rotated upside down, his hands started trembling because he knew that was no ordinary coin. So he carefully set it aside, took photos, and sent it to PCGS for professional grading. And what came back changed his life forever because the grading label confirmed it as a genuine 2010 D Lincoln cent struck on an off-metal planchet with multiple major minting errors, officially designated as unique, one of one. And when the news broke, it spread like wildfire across social media, numismatic forums, and mainstream news outlets, with collectors, investors, and even casual viewers fascinated by the idea that a coin worth 1 cent could be valued in the tens of millions. And when it was finally put up for auction, anticipation built for weeks as experts speculated how high the bids might go, some guessing 5 million, others 10, or maybe 20. But nobody was prepared for what happened when the live bidding started because the numbers climbed instantly, past 20, past 50, past 80, until the hammer finally fell at an unbelievable $101 million, setting a new world record and making it the most expensive modern 1-cent coin ever sold, instantly cementing its place in history and turning its owner into a legend overnight. And from that moment forward, the 2010 D penny became more than just a coin. It became a symbol of the incredible potential hidden in ordinary objects, a story that proved fortune can hide in plain sight, and the details of its discovery and sale ignited a global coin hunting craze as people everywhere began examining their change under magnifiers, posting pictures online, and checking rolls of pennies from 2010 for any hint of doubling or rotation, hoping lightning might strike twice. And even though countless collectors have searched for another example, none have ever surfaced, confirming this coin's absolute uniqueness, a one-of-one masterpiece created by accident, preserved by chance, and celebrated by history and experts have since used it to study the mechanical processes behind die alignment, planchet feed errors, and metal composition control, trying to understand exactly how such a combination could occur, because even the mint itself was baffled when asked about it, with internal investigations unable to trace the event that caused this specific strike, leading to speculation that it may have occurred during a late-night test run or while switching dies between production batches. But regardless of the cause, the end result is the same: one of the greatest numismatic discoveries of the 21st century, a coin whose imperfections made it perfect in the eyes of collectors, and whose rarity ensured its immortality. And what makes it even more poetic is that the year 2010 marked the debut of the new Union Shield design meant to symbolize the unity of the states and Lincoln's preservation of the Union. And now, this era coin bearing that design has united the entire world of collectors in fascination, making the symbol even more meaningful. And beyond the technical side, the emotional side of this story is what captured hearts, because it's about an ordinary person finding extraordinary value in something everyone else overlooked. A timeless reminder that treasures aren't always found in gold mines or art galleries. They can be hiding right in your pocket. And that truth resonated across the internet as videos, articles, and documentaries were created around this miraculous penny, turning it into a viral phenomenon that continues to inspire people of all ages to check their change, sparking a renewed wave of coin collecting enthusiasm not seen in decades. And in the years since its discovery, the coin has been displayed at major exhibits like the American Numismatic Association show and even featured in museum tours, where visitors line up to see it under protective glass, often stunned to learn that something as simple as a penny can be worth more than an entire house or a lifetime's earnings. And each time it's displayed, experts revisit its mysteries, running new imaging scans and composition tests, yet the origin of its unique alloy still remains unexplained, adding a layer of intrigue that keeps its legend alive. And while some skeptics initially questioned the authenticity of such a high value, every professional examination and auction verification reaffirmed its legitimacy, proving that this 2010 D penny truly deserved its status as one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever known. And the fascination hasn't faded even after all these years, because every collector secretly hopes to find another like it, though most know deep down that this was a once-and-forever event, a fluke of history that can't be replicated, a perfect alignment of metal, machinery, and chance. And what's most interesting is that since the coin's discovery, the Denver Mint has implemented even stricter quality controls, reportedly installing additional inspection cameras and digital weight sensors to prevent similar anomalies, indirectly making this coin even more special as one of the last great minting mysteries before full automation took over. Last 2003 1-cent USA coin. Have you ever dreamed of finding something so small, so ordinary, yet so impossibly valuable that it changes your entire life in a single moment? Because that's exactly what happened when a simple 2003 1-cent coin from the United States turned out to be worth a jaw-dropping $87 million, a discovery that shook the entire numismatic world, leaving collectors, historians, and experts completely speechless. And today this story of how a single penny, minted in 2003, a year no one expected anything remarkable from, became one of the most expensive coins in American history, has become a global sensation, a tale of mystery, luck, and perfection hidden inside imperfection. A story that proves that even the most overlooked objects can carry unimaginable worth if fate decides to touch them. Because when this particular 2003 penny was first struck, something extraordinary happened at the mint, something so rare that it would take nearly 2 decades for the world to even realize what had occurred. Beginning with a 1 in a billion minting error that resulted in a coin that shouldn't even exist in theory, yet somehow does. And that anomaly would transform it into one of the most legendary modern rarities ever known. For when we look at this coin closely, it becomes clear that this is no ordinary Lincoln cent. It's a miraculous combination of composition, strike, and design that defies logic. And to understand why, we have to go back to 2003, a time when the US Mint was producing billions of pennies made primarily of zinc with a thin copper coating. And during one of these massive production runs, a coin was struck using the wrong planchet, a blank metal disc that was never meant for a penny press, believed to be a leftover alloy from a test batch meant for commemorative foreign coinage containing a unique mix of copper, bronze, and traces of silver and nickel, giving it a distinctly warmer hue than any normal cent, one that shimmers almost like gold under light. And yet that wasn't the only thing special about it, because when the dies came down to strike the design, the obverse and reverse were misaligned by nearly 180 degrees, creating a dramatic rotational error that made the Lincoln portrait appear almost upside down when flipped, something that collectors instantly recognize as one of the most visually stunning minting mistakes possible. But what made it even more astonishing was the doubling that occurred on the obverse, where the date 2003, the word Liberty, and even Lincoln's profile show strong, clear doubling visible to the naked eye, with the letters and numbers appearing as if they had been shadowed by a ghostly twin, an effect caused by a misregistered hubbing process that's nearly impossible to reproduce intentionally. And when viewed under magnification, experts noticed yet another oddity. The surface of the coin had fine streaks and texture inconsistencies indicating that the planchet had been improperly annealed, meaning it had been heated and cooled at the wrong temperature before striking, which gave it a slightly grainy but visually unique luster, something unseen in any other 2003 cent. And that combination of off-metal planchet, doubling, and rotation was already enough to make it a valuable collector's item. But what sent its worth into the stratosphere was a final, almost mystical detail. When tested under spectral analysis, traces of silver and palladium were found within the alloy, an impossibility for regular US cent production, leading experts to conclude that the blank may have been created using an experimental mix for testing the durability of alternative coin compositions that never went into circulation, meaning this coin was an accidental survivor of a secret test program, a one-of-a-kind relic that merged history, science, and sheer luck. And somehow this masterpiece escaped quality control, entered general circulation, and ended up being spent like an ordinary penny, passing from hand to hand, shop to shop, maybe sitting in someone's drawer for years, completely unnoticed, until one day nearly 20 years later, a retired postal worker in Oregon stumbled upon it while sorting through an old coffee tin of loose change he had saved over the years. And something about the coin caught his attention. The color seemed different, the shine more radiant, and the date's numbers looked strange. So he took a closer look under a magnifying glass and realized he was seeing something out of the ordinary. So he sent it off for professional grading, never expecting anything more than a minor error coin. But when the report came back from PCGS, he almost fainted because the grading team had declared it one of the most extraordinary minting anomalies ever documented. A unique off-metal 2003 Lincoln cent with strong doubling, die rotation, and experimental composition, officially labeled as a one-of-one discovery. And from that moment, his life changed forever, because once word got out, The coin community erupted with excitement, news outlets picked up the story, and collectors around the world began bidding against one another for what was being called the golden ghost cent, with experts speculating it could break every previous record for a modern coin. And when the coin finally went to auction, the atmosphere was electric as bids soared higher and higher, crossing 10 million, then 20, then 50, and finally stopping at an unbelievable $87 million, a price so high it stunned even the auctioneers, instantly making this humble penny one of the most expensive coins ever sold. And the world was captivated by the irony that something worth 1 cent by face value could command such unimaginable fortune. But beyond its monetary value, this coin captured people's imaginations because it embodied everything that makes coin collecting so thrilling: the mystery of discovery, the blend of history and luck, and the reminder that even the smallest details can hold massive secrets. And after the sale, experts continued to study it, fascinated by the fact that no other 2003 cent with similar characteristics had ever surfaced, making it clear this was a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon. And they noted that the coin's surfaces, under electron microscopy, showed microfractures consistent with early die-state strikes, meaning it was among the first few coins struck from that particular die pair before the mint corrected the misalignment, explaining why it preserved such strong details and sharp doubling. And even the reverse design, featuring the Lincoln Memorial, showed faint extra lines in the columns, further confirming multiple hubbings. And while theories emerged suggesting that perhaps a mint employee intentionally allowed this coin to slip through, no evidence ever proved it, making the coin's creation an unsolved mystery. And its fame only grew as documentaries, articles, and YouTube channels began telling its story, inspiring millions of people to check their own change for hidden treasures, fueling a new era of modern coin hunting that spread across the globe, with people armed with magnifiers and rolls of pennies hoping to find the next $1 million mistake. But none came close to matching the legend of the 2003 cent worth $87 million, which now resides in a secure display case owned by a private collector who occasionally lends it to museums for public viewing, where it draws huge crowds of curious visitors amazed that something so tiny could hold such enormous value. And many who see it say it glows differently, almost as if it knows it's special, its surface reflecting history itself, a coin that defied all odds to become the centerpiece of modern numismatic lore. And what makes it even more fascinating is that the coin also represents a turning point in US minting history, marking one of the last years before the mint began fully modernizing its production systems with automated sensors and digital inspections designed to eliminate such human and mechanical errors, meaning it's one of the final examples of a true minting miracle, created in that narrow window where accidents could still produce perfection. And that fact alone gives it historical weight beyond its beauty, because it stands as a symbol of the unpredictable, a tangible reminder that even in systems built on precision, randomness can still create art. And while its value might be measured in millions, its true worth lies in the inspiration it gave to a new generation of collectors who now understand that every coin tells a story, and that some stories are priceless. And so the legend of the 2003 1 cent continues to grow, with every retelling reminding us that treasures are still out there waiting to be found, that even a single penny can hold the power to rewrite your destiny, and that maybe, just maybe, the next incredible find could be sitting unnoticed in your wallet or jar of change right now, because miracles like this don't just belong to history, they can happen again.